when I was cutting hair aboard ship, I was a standby barber for President Eisenhower.
Can you imagine?
And President Eisenhower was supposed to come in, and I was supposed to cut his hair. I'm standing on the after deck, you know, where you report for your duty, and my square hat and white outfit on, and waiting for the president to come in on his helicopter. And he changed his mind about getting a haircut. How close can you be of cutting a president's hair?
This is 1980s.
1980, yeah. But look at you. He could have been a movie star.
Oh, please.
Really, you could have, Curtis. But then I could have been second.
Then here's me with you teaching me, you were teaching me a new haircut back in 1980 something or other.
Yeah.
Do you remember what haircut you were getting ready to do there?
No, I don't. Do you remember?
A long layered haircut.
Well, look
I'll
at
never
that.
forget a long layered
Might have been
haircut.
a shag or something.
Yeah, because look, the mullet that's coming back in, I had back then, it's coming back again.
It's coming
look at my
back.
perfect
I know.
mullet.
The mullets. No, I mean, who was cutting your hair? It looks like a good
You
mullet.
were cutting it.
Well, that was a good mullet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the best mullet you can ever have.
It's
Well, look
to
at
keep-
today, you're 90 years old, and you and I will still talk here.
Yeah.
You're contemporary.
You're right.
You're more contemporary than some of the young people I know. I'm cleaning this haircut up for you, Carmen.
You are.
I'm using your barber technique.
That's the best thing that you can use.
I do. I use the barber technique.
I
and the
use it all the
styling.
time.
Welcome back, guys. We got something really fun for you today. We got a special guest with us. I'm going to do a haircut on him. The man, the master that created the monster. So come on in. Let's go have some fun again. So, guys, I'd like to introduce you to Carmine. He's the man I apprentice under, and he's been my mentor for many, many years. And so we're just going to give him a little haircut today and discuss how he started getting involved with hair. Good morning, Carmine.
Good morning,
This is the guy that
nephew.
taught me, and he's also my uncle, so I've been very blessed. When I moved here in 1984, he took me under his wings and started teaching me hair. I was very fortunate enough to be able to live with him for about a year and a half, and while I lived with him after I would apprentice every single day at school, we were very fortunate. I was very fortunate to go back home, and every single day we would watch videotapes on hairstyling and designing, and he would walk into the studio with me and begin to show me how to cut hair and improve upon it. It's a very, very unique thing because Carmine started off as a barber and then worked himself into the cosmetology industry, worked himself as a stylist. So with that being said, Carmine, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the hairstyling business.
Well, I don't know where to start because it's such a long, I'm 90 years old. If I started and tell you everything about my history, we could be here all month. Okay.
So you started in what, 19?
I started cutting hair in 1947
I'm gonna
in New Haven, Connecticut. Went to barber school in Hartford, Connecticut, and I spent 6 months in barber school in Hartford. And the way I went to school in them days, it was just, I guess you can say that it was only 1 year after the Second World War was over. This was 1940, for 2 years,
Wow.
1947. I grew up in poverty as well as everybody else, and during the Depression it was really tough to, we couldn't, you talk about scrubbing 2 pennies together. We were lucky to have 2 pennies. My father worked on the railroad, and we had a tough time. There were 6 of us in the family, and he not only did he work on the railroad, but he worked on a farm to bring food home during the Depression.
When did you start getting into the hair business, Carmine?
In 1947.
And you started how?
Well, I started working in a hairstyling barbershop. In the barbershop, just sweeping floors and lathering men up and putting hot towels on them, making $4 a week, $4 a day.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for 6 months. During the Korean War, I was drafted and I joined the Navy and spent 3.5 years in Naples, Italy.
Wow.
And I cut hair aboard ship in the officer's barbershop for 3.5 years.
So President Eisenhower, wow, that goes back some time, and that must have been pretty impressive for you to have that
Oh my
that honor
God.
for them to
Tell
ask
me
you to be
about it.
standby to cut his hair.
Tell me about
Man,
it.
That's
Tell
pretty
me
cool.
about it.
It's Good stuff. Good stuff. You did the barbering. You were in the Navy for a while, and you got out of the Navy, and you continued with barbering, or what'd you do after that?
I went to hairdressing school under the GI Bill, which I'm very fortunate that the United States government gave us an opportunity to continue our education. It was a wonderful thing that our government did for us.
So yeah, that's it's a great opportunity that the Armed Forces gave you to have the opportunity to use the GI Bill to go to school.
You know, in the business, you get to the point you must advance. You just get stagnated.
Kind of stuck and not creative anymore.
Right.
Well, you've never been like that. I mean,
well,
you've always been one to always look forward.
Well, that's always I tried to instill in you too.
Oh yeah, you really changed over from back in the day. Women came to the salon to get roller sets done once a week, and you decided that you were going to move into the new contemporary way of cutting hair, which is what the Vidal Sassoon techniques and things like that. And that you made that switch over.
Yes, that's what I did because I was getting really bored with my work. I wanted to do things that were up to date. I wanted to be more, what you might call, creative in my work.
Now, you've always been into constant education at all times, and that's what I loved about you teaching me all the time. You always made me to challenge and stuff like that, but you also encouraged me, and I think, if I'm correct, didn't you compete during your years, competitive stuff, cutting hair and contests, and win some great awards over the years of your life of cutting hair, and you always said to me that by challenging yourself to compete, you're constantly improving and becoming better. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, why you did start with some competitions back then? In fact, Carmine, this is one of your awards. I think, is it your first?
1958, I won first place for the state of Virginia in hair cutting.
That was your first competition?
My very first competition. I took my sister-in-law up to Richmond, Virginia. We went up in one day. I called her, I said, "Would you be my model?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, come on, be my model." So we went up there, and I introduced her. I used her as a model for...
And took first place.
And took first place.
Well, I keep it in here for good luck all the time. I shine that baby up, and I keep it in here, and I share the story of the history and stuff like that.
That's nice, Kurt.
I'm very proud of it, and it always reminds me of where I came from education. I'm very fortunate, one of the best. You got into the hairstyling, you did some competitions, and today, again, with your maturity and your experience, you and I still talk hair. We still sit down and watch videos occasionally, or you'll just come down in here and analyze some of the stuff we're doing and look around and identify with the contemporary or the modern days of cutting hair. You still enjoy it, right?
If you want to be successful in any business, you should never stop learning.
What are some of the fondest memories that you could remember that during your journey of what 70-something years you've been cutting hair?
If you go back to 1947, and
I can't count that far back.
And this is 2020. I think 70-something years if you subtract that.
And didn't you even have the opportunity to be judge in competitions for young stylists that were competing with one another and be able to...
Well, I was on the Virginia Hair Fashion Committee for at least 25, 30 years, and I represented our state in New York City doing hairstyling. Well, I'll tell you what, a gentleman by the name of Paul Mitchell, who everybody knows Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell his name is synonymous in our business because he died a few years ago, but his partner continued his name and education. But I was doing, this is one of the memories, you're talking about a memory, okay? This was really good. I was cutting a head of hair in Texas, in a booth, across from Paul Mitchell. Now,
Wow.
Paul Mitchell had a big name back then. And he came over to me and he says, "Great hair cutting, young man." I'll never forget that. That was something. That's one of the things I will never forget because Paul Mitchell became very famous in the industry for his products.
Yeah, he was one of the first innovators to implement some really good natural ingredients
Yes,
into the shampoos and conditioners, right? So you want to go back into history. Well, you know, we're talking about Paul Mitchell, him implementing some really interesting, nice natural ingredients into the product. But you, I mean, at one point you even had your own product, and I remember when I worked with you, I loved it. Had that, it was when the, what was those smells, those creamy smells, I can't even remember, caramel, but you were always, and you still are, into being innovative. And in fact, this is the reason why I manufacture my own products, and one of your friends is the owner of the manufacturing company. And you said, Curtis, you know, you always want to stay abreast of things, move forward, brand yourself.
That's right.
And some of the most influential times, or best influences in my life, that I'm constantly seeking education and stuff.
I think the biggest problem in any business that you're trying to introduce new designs, new looks, is the problem you have is people are like sheep.
Right.
They follow one another as far as hairstyling, clothes. If a person, and then you take like Hollywood, for instance, they'll come out, a movie actress will come out with, with a look, and all the young kids will follow that look. That to me is very detrimental to a designer, because a designer wants to do what's good and looks good on the person. Creativity is where it's at in designing. Most people will not accept creativity because they're so regimented into getting and following, like sheep. Follow the first sheep walking around. They're the ones that I'm going to follow because I'm a follower. And that's no good when it comes to designing. It's no good when it comes to being creative.
You want to kind of stay ahead of the curve, and
you want to stay ahead of the curve, and you want to be able to design, but the people that you're designing on are stopping your creativity. It's not like you, Curtis. You're an artist. You get the canvas in front of you, and you can do what you want, and no one's going to say anything to you. Like Picasso, he did a lot of designing of his own, and he became very popular after he died.
Yeah. And while he was alive too. But you know, the nice thing is for you to have so many years of experience and be so open-minded to moving from the 40s through the 50s, to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the millennial, and still have the insight and the ambition to constantly stay contemporary. Is, you know, that says a lot about you as an individual, your creative mind, how you think as an intellect in this industry, to be able to make those changes and be open. And still to this day, at 90 years old, you still enjoy looking at all the changes. Right? The hairstyling's in the blood. Designing hair, I mean, not only, you know, was I blessed to be able to have a talent, but then to have a teacher who, you know, he's my uncle, and then it's in the blood. It's good stuff. Good stuff, right?
If you want to be successful in any business, you should never stop learning. I told my wife one day, I said, honey, I'm either going to have to get out of the business or go to the horse. And the horse at that particular time was the gentleman that's called Vidal Sassoon, and he changed our whole industry, believe it or not. This man today, every hairdresser that does great work today has followed his system and is still following his system. He's one of the greatest innovators of our time.
Today I just wanted to give you some in-depth history of how I started with this great man, my Uncle Carmine. And with that being said, I wanted to share some history with you guys today, and I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to come back in a couple more weeks. We're going to be doing a disconnected razor textured bob in the next couple of weeks. But I hope you enjoy this video. It gives you a little history on my background and this great gentleman's some history.